What if there was just one? One supplement that helped you here, and yes, even here. Say hello to VitaFlux Powder for Men. This natural blend has 3 key amino acids like L-arginine, L-citrulline, and L-carnitine. With just a scoop in the morning and 1 scoop in the evening, VitaFlux helps to increase testosterone levels, improve recovery times from injury and exhaustion, and increase libido, giving you energy in any activity you engage in. Did we mention it comes with delicious flavors like mint mojito? So what are you waiting for? Get back to your prime. Shop VitaFlux Powder for Men today.
Today's episode is brought to you by Promescent. Use the code in our description to automatically get 15% off at checkout.
You're watching ASN Underground with me, Sam Mack. Today's interview is going to be a wild one. This woman is intelligent. She is thought-provoking. You've probably read her articles on the Daily Beast, Rolling Stone, or perhaps you recognize her from scrolling on your cell phone screen. Maybe you've seen her on the TV. I definitely know you've seen her on Netflix. Who are we talking about? None other than the beautiful, the intelligent, the stunning Cherie Deville. There's so much ground for us to cover. So let's start with I think the wildest story. Miss Vice President alongside Coolio.
Yeah.
You were up against Trump.
That was a crazy election cycle.
Okay.
So you've probably known from my writing, I've been a little bit political for quite a while. And I decided, not so much because I thought I could actually be president, but because especially then, sex workers were way over here in sex work. And
I realized we didn't announce that you did porn.
Oh.
I think everyone knew that, right?
Did everyone know?
Everyone knew that?
They're like, look at my face. She's obviously a whore. Yeah, look at her.
Oh.
Are you even looking?
Everyone's
There's
stepmom.
a slut right there. The internet stepmom.
The internet's favorite stepmom. Milf of the year. How many years in a row?
Lord, I don't know.
Since my career started, you've been Milf of the year.
I've been well awarded. I thank you, AVN XBiz, Pornhub, XRCO,
yes,
Adult DVD Empire, everybody, Fleshbot, yes.
So back to the day that a porn star ran for president, vice president.
President. Coolio was vice president.
Shut
up. Shut the front door, Sam Mack.
Oh, we got to cut that whole intro all over again. Oh, shame on me. I put you in second seat. My mistake. Okay,
look.
So Miss President, please.
Yes.
Continue.
So basically, I was well aware that I wasn't going to win the presidency, right? Not only is there no way that the Democrats or Republican, the two, legitimate parties, would take me as their candidate, but the finances involved are overwhelming, all of that stuff. So then everyone at that time especially was asking, well, why are you doing this? So the real reason that I was doing it is because especially then, and honestly still now, you have sex workers, and our culture wants to keep us completely separate over on Whore Island, right?
Yeah.
They love us, they're glad we exist privately, but they just hope that we're all drug-addled idiots fucking up a storm over there on Sex Island.
It's true.
And while I like the idea of this Sex Island,
I would vacation on Sex Island.
I, as you've probably seen, I'm a big sex worker advocate. I am really interested in humanizing us to the mainstream.
Yes.
I'm really interested in showing the world that we're not all one-trick ponies, so to speak. So part of the reason that I ran for president is to kind of open people's eyes to some of the political issues that directly affect us as sex workers.
Yes.
Even back in the hustler days, we have been fighting for our corner of free speech since sex work started.
And it's been a battle.
And it's been a battle, and it's
all the way.
still a battle, and it's going to continue to be a battle. So unless some of us are doing our damnedest to keep fighting, the people that are against us with more money, more power, more clout, more social acceptance are going to win.
Right.
And if they win, that's going to look like certainly, never decriminalizing prostitution, shutting down the currently legal porn market, hampering our distribution, eliminating us even when we're appropriate on social media. They just want to eradicate our existence.
But they still want to benefit from our existence.
Right. Well,
right? Like there's such a divide.
That's the thing. Everyone secretly watches porn, right? And then publicly wants us gone. And it's ridiculous because if they got their way, of course, porn and sex work would continue.
Right.
But if it became illegal, look at the statistics, FOSTA, SESTA, all of this other stuff. Anytime you do something specifically to women, people of color, trans people, once you start making these things that people are going to continue doing illegal, the violence.
It becomes dangerous.
The violence goes up like crazy. And the great irony in that is look at the rhetoric that they're giving. They're trying to protect women, stop sex trafficking because they say we're all sex trafficked.
Right.
So they're using rhetoric that sounds right. We want to protect children. We want to protect women. We don't like sex trafficking. But the people spewing those lies know very well that once what they want gets passed, eradicating us, it will cause more trafficking, more violence. They know it will cause and increase the very things that they're speaking against, but they're just gaslighting the public. So if none of us come forward, and even if it's just, and scream, we're gonna get swept away, and what it will do is it'll create a violent, scary job atmosphere, and I don't want that. I love that it's legal and safe.
Can we give a really simplified example for the people who aren't quite following the language?
Yeah, so for example, if you were to make, let's just start with something that's legal.
Right.
Filming porn. Right? Filming porn is legal, which means we have testing requirements.
Yep.
It means we pay our taxes. It means that we can file workers' comp violations. We have protections if we get hurt on set.
Consent.
Right, our consent checklists are vast, and if they're not met, we have recourse, right? All of those things and more are available because it's a legal industry.
Right.
So if you were to make that illegal, there's still going to be pornography filmed, but it's very likely not going to be in the safe, tested, consensual, we have IDs, everyone's over 18. All of that will be gone. And so how are you going to ethically then vet, as a consumer, the content that you're consuming?
Right.
You could very easily assume that it is bad or dangerous, where now you can comfortably watch pornographic content knowing that it's ethically created, that everyone is an adult, that everyone was happy, everyone was tested, everyone's paying their taxes, which I know is important to people. So all of those things disappear when you make it illegal. Porn doesn't disappear.
No,
when you make it illegal,
does
it's
not
the
disappear.
oldest profession. Prostitution is illegal in most states. Is it gone? Please.
Well, and how many
Please.
stories have we heard about, women who are doing very consensual acts,
Yes.
in dungeon settings, giving people these
Sure.
experiences for the
Beautiful.
first time. And then in places where it's illegal, these women are getting attacked, murdered.
Yes.
And, the police aren't responding because, she's a sex worker.
Exactly. She's a sex worker,
Yeah.
and it was
She's
illegal
beneath-
anyway.
she's
She was
beneath the public.
asking for it.
Yeah. So that's why this legality, I can get on this tangent for hours.
Well, I know.
But
It's imperative that the public both understands that we just want to work safely and legally, and that they understand that most of the people against us are lying to manipulate them. They're lying about our jobs. They're telling falsehoods about sex trafficking. They're telling falsehoods about, horrible child content
Yep.
to damn us so that they get rid of us.
Right.
Yeah.
But back to your presidency.
Yeah.
This was a great platform for you
Right, so
to
it
make
did.
this known.
Right. So you do this big stunt, if you will, but
How expensive was the stunt?
we won't. No comment.
Oh no!
But worth it. You know what I mean? Worth it for my advocacy.
Yes.
Because what it did is it opened the door for me into legitimate mainstream media. Yeah. I was getting Fox interviews. I was getting interviews for The Hill. Yes. Every legitimate publication was covering this. And so through that, I met so many reporters and so many journalists that I still have relationships with now, so that when there is a sex work topic in the media, I can recommend people that they might want to speak to. I can speak for myself. I can try and speak for our community. And so even if just a few people, instead of, you know how it used to be, they wrote for us. They didn't even have the decency to ask, and they would pass laws about us without talking to us about those laws. And I think that's finally changing.
That's a big thing. Is even to this day, people assume so much about OnlyFans girls.
Sure.
They assume so much about porn stars.
Sex workers.
And I mean, even in the even in the emails we get from people, they make great assumptions because they saw you on the internet in one place one time, they felt one thing.
Yeah.
And so they think they can approach you a certain way, they think they can say things a certain way, they think you're available for certain things that you've never said you were.
That's correct.
So this kind of education is so important. I think that's why your platform as Miss President was so important.
Well, just think of that. You know, you can be a mainstream actress and play a serial killer.
Yes.
Right? Nobody watching that thinks you're a serial killer.
No!
But for whatever reason, when people consume pornographic content, they think it's more real. They think that I'm sucking off every pizza man that comes to my house. It's 5% at best. But you know what I mean. It's like,
I was not expecting that.
Sorry.
It's true. Speaking about how people make assumptions, they assume things. I got an email on the ASN Instagram, or on the Instagram. It goes to Booker at ASNUndergroundShow.com. You can apply to come be on the show, tell us your story, why you should be here.
Tonight. Under other names.
You totally should. Some fellow came on and was like, I just want you to know that my face is available as Samantha's seat for any of her interviews. And I was just like, you know that I don't read these emails? I mean, I do, but it also goes to like our whole team.
The whole team.
So you just sent that to
like 20 people or more.
Yeah, you just sent that to a lot of gentlemen who might have not also been aware of your face-sitting fetish. So it's a little bit awkward. Now, I know that's a very tame example of a random email that gets sent to you.
Oh, yeah.
What kind of emails do you get from your fans?
Well, I don't know if you noticed, so on my Instagram and my TikTok, I do Cherie Reads Her DMs
Wait,
segment.
what's your Instagram? What's your TikTok?
My Instagram is Cherie Deville XO, and I just got my verified TikTok back, Cherie Deville XO, and I still have the internet stepmom. So now I have 2 TikToks. For, who knows, by the time this airs, I'll probably have no TikToks, right? But you know what I mean. And yeah, so I do, because like you said, it can be offensive, it can be insulting. If you read them, sometimes it can leave you feeling away. So it started kind of for my mental health. I was like, people need to know what we're receiving. Right? So I go through once a week. I spend like 20 minutes going through. I only edit out the really, really not safe for work ones because I want to be able to post this.
You don't want to lose another TikTok.
Right. And I kind of comedically roast what people are, saying to me in DMs. And it is cleansing, girl. It is very cleansing. And to get the feedback when I post it of everyone being like, that's crazy, that's whack, I can't believe people talk to you that way. I'm like, okay, you don't just live in this little microcosm, like there are other normal people out there in the world, and it's nice, almost like public venting. But in a humorous way.
It's kind of like public education too, because your fans who are mid-sentence being like, dear Cherie, I would love to be the seat that you sit on in your living room every day. Mid-sentence, they see your TikTok and they're like, oh, Miss Cherie, I would never speak to you like that. You are a goddess.
Before you DM, just like show it to someone and be like, should I send this, yes or no? Okay.
Is this too thirsty? On a scale of 1 to 10, from like a juice box to a picture.
Right.
Where is this message?
Yeah, it's usually a pitcher of Kool-Aid they're sending. It's just the
full, all the sugar.
The whole thirst.
It's a lot. It's a lot. I used to, and this is like back in MySpace days. old.
MySpace.
I would open up my inbox. I was working on a film set, and we're sitting or waiting for hours. And I'd be like, here, let's play a game. Open any of my emails. Read anything that's unopened right now. Let's see what happens.
Oh, good Lord.
And it was hilarious what people would send. Now, some were very sincere, like.
Sure, there are some, and I read the nice ones
Yes.
too. They don't come as often, but when they do,
Yeah.
I read that as well.
But I find that like people reading, like people actually talk to you like that, but it's the same guys who talk just like that to women in the bar, who speak just like that to the OnlyFans girls. And so by people like you and me and whoever else is, posting these things,
Yeah.
it is kind of a little education out there. Like, by the way, we are women who have thoughts and feelings.
Yeah.
Like maybe a hi, how you doing?
Right,
It's a
I'm a
better way to
whole
start off a
person.
message. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a lot. I used to do the same thing,
Yeah.
except I would do the Q&A on Instagram, and I would correct their language.
I
Like they'd
saw
ask
yours.
a question.
I used to watch those all the time.
And it was cleansing.
And it was so funny because you'd start off so like cheerful, and then by the end you got so sassy and so funny.
Ooh.
I was like crying at the end
Oh,
of
there's
most
times
of
I had to
those.
like turn it off. I
Cried.
couldn't handle it anymore.
Yeah, I like could see it in her face. I was like, oh, girl's done.
Oh, I was like,
she done.
I would start off and be like, oh, I think you meant to say, and I would like correct their English, or I would correct their grammar, or I would correct their content. And then by the end, I was like, I am going to donate all
You're
your
like,
teeth back to the tooth fairy tonight, sir.
Tonight's
Like,
the night. Tonight's the night. She's getting them all.
Yep, the give a fuck is gone.
Funny.
Let's delve into some of the biggest successes you've had in your career.
Oh,
I think
that's
writing for Rolling Stones is a big success.
Yeah, that's such.
I think
I
finding
love
that kind of platform
all
is-
of my awards. It feels really good to be supported by your industry and supported by your peers. But you're right. I feel really proud of a lot of my advocacy work because I didn't even know I was going to be a pornographer, right? Like I got in and I was just enjoying doing sex work.
Yeah.
I was still a physical therapist,
forgot about
full time, and I was just at first just sort of having fun. I was a swinger, I was doing all these things. This was just like almost like a step in my personal sexual evolution, right? And then the years went by and I'm like, bitch, this is your career. So like if this is your career, embrace it, embrace the sex worker space, and what are you gonna do about it? Do you know what I mean? Like whether it's therapy or like research I did as whatever it is that I'm doing, I wanna do the fuck out of it.
Yeah.
And so I personally was irritated at the way, we were being presented in the media, the way that we were being, made fun of, in the way that we were being demeaned, not just as sex workers, but it just really it really opened my eyes to how ridiculously puritanical and misogynistic the United States is, because a lot of the verbiage that gets thrown on us is really just toxic masculine insecurities. And so it made me not just feel bad for us, but kind of feel bad, honestly, for the men, for the young men that have to try and grow up in this environment.
Right, when you have the information's being pushed on you
It
that
is.
this is what's expected.
Right.
And it's so skewed into what is real.
Yeah.
Like how do you grow and how do you become a man?
Honestly, I think that exact problem is why MILF and stepmom porn is so popular.
It is so popular.
It's just my opinion. I feel like there's this, we're raising men in the United States to think that the only way to be a man is to squelch all your emotions, unless it's rage,
Yeah, of course.
right? To always be in control, to always be the provider, to always, make the first move, to always pay for the date, to always. How stressful is that, just making that list? It's ridiculous, first of all. So you have all this pressure as a man, as a young man, all this sexual pressure, all this financial pressure, always have to be in charge. And then you have MILF porn. And you know what?
You don't have to be in charge
Mommy's
anymore.
gonna take control. She's gonna show you everything to do. She'll probably pay for your food. She's gonna give you a snack on the way out. Like, it's that like soft, dominant, nurturing vibe. And it honestly just makes me like I'm so glad I can provide it. I'm so glad I can be there for my fans. And don't I wish culture would change so that men can be whoever they are? If they're that guy I just mentioned, great.
Yeah.
But just because you have a penis doesn't mean you
have to be that.
Yeah. Fuck, man, that's tough.
There are some, I mean, like through the fans that I've spoken to, on a deeply personal level, and gotten to know so much about them, a lot of times they just want someone to tell them that, like, hey, I love you, you're doing a good job.
Why don't men get that?
I don't know.
Girls and girlfriends do that for
ruined.
each other. We cry in each other's laps, we hug each other, we're vulnerable with each other.
But call and vent and give and receive good advice.
Thank God. And I'm not sure
men have the same outlet.
Right, I know like the men that I hang out with do, because they're emotionally intelligent and vulnerable, and that's the type of people I enjoy hanging out with. But I think a lot of our culture kind of shames that, and that fucking sucks.
It does.
That sucks, man.
Yeah, so much of what I've seen through people who really enjoy the MILF fetish is that's where they're getting that nurturing from. That's where they're getting that care from, that maybe they didn't have, or they long since haven't had it, and it feels warm and fuzzy to them.
And vulnerable and safe.
It's kind of like like when I want to look up like romantic porn, I want to see like those hot, steamy, like made for TV scenes, right? That eye contact. I want the I love you and no, nobody but you, baby. Like I
love throwing that out. I love throwing out and I love you.
I sift through pages and pages to find that one video, and I'll just play that 30 seconds over and over again.
Yeah.
Tell me you love me. But I think for men though, that's such an easy thing for them to do. Like they're not longing for those very specific fetishes. Sometimes those fetishes mask what they're really looking for.
Yeah, I don't think it's about incest at all. I don't think all of a sudden everyone's interested in incest. I don't believe that for 1 minute.
So I don't know if this will make it to the show, because this might be a little controversial.
Yeah.
But I'm personally very interested in your opinions on this. I've seen a lot of new people jumping into the industry with the
content creator space.
Content creator space, yeah.
Sure.
And a lot of women who actually are moms are using that to prove that they're a MILF, and they're getting their real life as a mother mixed up with the MILF. And I think that taking the term MILF too literally is dangerous in this area.
Yeah, because listen, I don't have social media for myself, for my real me, for my real name. I can't speak for all of the people that you're talking about, but I know for me, I have Cherie Deville social media. Cherie is a sex worker, and as a sex worker, even on my Safe for Work platforms, there's no space for children. Because the people that are following me there are there for adult content.
Yes.
Right? Even if it's Safe for Work, they're there as an adult content fan, right? They're hopefully jerking off to my porn, right? That is what I'm selling predominantly. So if I were to introduce under 18 family members of mine on my social media, in my opinion, I would be putting them in danger and potentially sexualizing them in the eyes of my followers. Now, that doesn't mean it's right, but we just had a conversation about our culture. We just had a conversation about what people think about us. Right or wrong, those are facts. So when I introduce an under 18 person, which I wouldn't do, onto my social media, I'm taking the risk that someone is now going to do something inappropriate with that picture. And that is a hard fucking no for me.
Yeah, I agree.
Everyone can make their own choices, but Cherie Deville is a promotional page for porn.
Yes.
And children have no space on that promotional pornographic page.
Yeah, I would love to be able to, I want to say educate, but like who am I to educate? I would love to be able to give my opinion to the people who would benefit from it, that if you are an actual mom, that should not be part of your platform for being a MILF.
It's tough. I think you could have your own social media. You could share that with your friends and family.
But lock it down. Don't let your fans get access.
And here's another thing that maybe people aren't thinking about, and again, this is just for me.
Right.
One of the reasons that I don't have children is because I don't want children, and I recognize that even though it's totally inappropriate, the social stigma is so strong that might roll down onto my child. Now again, it shouldn't be that way, but it probably is. And unless the person that I'm posting on my page is 18, they can't even consent to the stigma that I might be placing on them before they're at the age of consent. I wouldn't want that underaged person to come back to me when they're 19, when they're 20, when they're 30 and go, hey, auntie, mom, friend of a friend, whatever. It really hurt me when you accidentally sexualized me in that way. And I was too young to consent. So how do you even go forward with that conversation then?
Right.
You know what I mean? Just because you consent doesn't mean that that child consents to be even in that safer workspace, in my mind.
I often explain it to people, like imagine I was a coroner, right? So I'm working with unalive people every day.
Sure.
And you know, we're opening their bodies and we're seeing like, you know, a lot of sadness, a lot of death, destruction, you know, infections, wounds, all these things. I would not bring my child to work. Now, if I had a website where I talk about how we do mortuary makeup, and things like that.
And their family consented to the use of their, you know what I mean?
Yes,
like, yeah.
100%. But at the same time, I wouldn't then mix that up with a Christmas photo of me and my children. I don't have children, but you know, you wouldn't mix the two.
Remember that old VHS Faces of Death where people were actually dying? Yeah, it was all these tapes of actually people dying. It was the most disturbing, horrible thing in the world. If I were scrolling, say it were today, then there was
like
no social media.
Like an old steakandcheese.com style website?
It was real.
Oh, Lord.
But whatever. If I were scrolling through that, I would be really shocked to see a picture of a kid. Do you know what I mean? Like adult content and children.
Separate.
In my eyes, should be as separate as possible. Now, obviously, other people have different opinions about this, and maybe someday our culture won't be so damning, so it won't be as big of an issue where there'll be more open conversations about sex and sexuality, which there should be, where parents and our society will be more comfortable talking to children about the birds and the bees, and those things won't be as stigmatized, and it won't roll downhill on them, and blah, blah, blah.
But in the space we're in now.
Right, I hope that occurs.
Yeah.
And we are working in that direction.
Yes.
But even living in LA, where things are more progressive, we're just not there.
No, it's not safe yet.
Not, to me, it doesn't feel safe.
I mean, I think the point that I would love to make, if anyone's going to listen to like 2 seconds of me speaking, like if you want to get into the industry, I encourage it. I think that it's very freeing. I think it's really great for like your self-esteem. Like there's so many benefits to it. There's also some cons. But just don't get MILF, the porn subject, mixed up with an actual mom that you
you probably shouldn't be monetizing your children, because that's what you're doing if you're using them to help your porn brand. That's feels wrong. And that's not just for porn. Before I moved, I lived across the street from a massive TikTok influencer who was under 18.
Okay.
Millions and millions and millions of followers on TikTok and on YouTube and on all these things. And
I remember the stories.
And it turns out her mom was basically, at least in my view, from the screaming I heard from the house, forcing her to do TikTok. And this underaged woman was out there with her underaged friends in the front yard in 2-piece swimsuits doing sexualized dances for a predominantly male audience. So even in a safer workspace, I don't think that was appropriate for that mother to be, they bought an over $1 million house. It wasn't the mom's money. You know what I mean? So even that in my mind is grotesque, horrifyingly inappropriate.
And we see the results of actions like that. I forget this actress's name, but she was from the show iCarly. She just released a book called I'm Glad My Mom Is Dead, or I'm Glad My Mom Died.
Jesus Christ.
And it is the story about how she was pushed into being a performer and you know, like
to make money for the family.
Had to make money for the family, and like yes, she's had all this success, but where it has left her as an adult now, and now she's telling the story because her mom has passed, and she's very candid about it.
Yeah.
So we're seeing the effects of that. So I think,
and especially if you're basically doing TikToks for men that are gross, the moment you are of age, you probably won't have fame and money, and your mama spent all the money you had when you were a kid.
Yeah.
So you're left with less than nothing.
Now, I do realize there are success stories. Like, we are talking about like a generalization.
No, I'm just talking about this one person
Yes.
whose mother forced them, in my mind, from what I saw, into
Yeah.
doing stuff. And the fuck TikTok, I get taken down. Like, I couldn't wear that shirt on TikTok, right?
Oh,
I would have to button this up to the neck on TikTok, and you're letting 12-year-olds dance in bikinis? Like, shame on you.
That's
Shame
the
on
thing.
you.
I was doing voiceovers on TikTok
Yeah.
during COVID.
Yeah.
And I was on the beach in a bathing suit, and they took me down for like sexual exploitation.
But it would be okay if you were 12.
It's okay if I'm 12.
Apparently, according to TikTok.
or it's okay if I'm a man.
Disgusting.
If a man's only wearing a towel with a light shining through it, that's
Yeah.
cool.
Or if you're a male account, objectifying women.
Yep, that's
is
totally fine.
always fine. You on your yacht with women in
Yeah,
thongs,
that's
you are not going to
perfect.
get taken down.
That's glamorized.
But if I had a yacht with women on thongs, I would get taken down immediately.
Yeah. So, I mean, knowing where we are in the world, where we need to go, some of the best things we can do is like what you did. I mean, don't everybody run for president all at once, but finding those platforms.
Speak out.
Speaking, letting your voice be heard.
All
stand
of
up.
us need to speak out. This one old white woman, please, should not be. Do you know what I mean? Like, lots of people need to speak out. I just have like this
Yes.
tiny little opinion.
Yes.
Opinion, you know?
But the more we talk about it, the more we educate ourselves, the more we think big picture, the
Mm-hmm.
better and the more successful we can be in these adventures. I really briefly wanted to talk about Netflix and Pornhub, and we are way out of time, but let's just add 5 minutes to the clock because we missed you're on Netflix right now.
Yeah,
You're one
yeah,
of the
the
most
Money
watched shows
Yeah.
on Netflix.
Yeah.
And we just skipped right past that.
Yeah, so I got the opportunity to be in the documentary,
Yes.
The Money Shot. And, well, first of all, it is definitely, in my opinion, the best documentary that has been made about the pornographic space thus far.
Yes.
However,
It's heavy.
yeah, look,
I watched it in 3 pieces. I couldn't.
yeah, I love that they used our voices
Yes.
and not a narrator. I loved how inclusive they were. I loved that we kind of got to speak our piece. But I am of the firm opinion that a lot of the people on the other side are lying. So it's really challenging to feel okay with giving them, like they did in the documentary, an equal voice to us. You know, they were talking a lot about specifically inappropriate and illegal content on one specific tube site, Pornhub,
Yeah.
right? But they missed a lot. So one thing that I always like to say is even one video that slips through the cracks is too many videos.
Yeah. Agreed.
Saying that, if you took the people that were speaking in that documentary's verbalized goal, which was eradicating disgusting content from the internet. Right. So if you had a goal of eradicating disgusting content from the internet, would you start with the person, if you made a list of the most the most counts of that content to the least counts of that content, would you start toward the top of the people that were doing it the most, or would you start all the way at the bottom?
Right.
You'd probably try and start
with the
people that were
biggest.
doing the most offenses,
Right.
which would be Facebook, which would be Google, which would be Reddit, which would be Twitter. They have hundreds of
TikTok.
thousands of counts of child pornography to every one count that Pornhub has. Now, is that too many on Pornhub? Yeah.
Yeah.
One is too many.
much.
One is way too many, and it is horrifying. But if your goal is to eradicate that disgusting content, should you maybe go after Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, Reddit, all of those other places first? And then it begs the question of, why are you going after us first then? Maybe that's not really your goal. And if you look back in their tax records, you can see their firm associations with other evangelical groups, where you can read the mission statement, which is surprise, surprise, not get rid of child pornography, not get rid of rape porn, not get rid of illegal, unage verified content. They're stated. Google it. It takes 10 seconds. Mission statement is getting rid of pornography. And they're gaslighting the public with these terrible, horrifying stories of child pornography. And those stories are terrible, and those stories are true, but those stories are 100-fold on other sites. So that just tells me it's kind of like that ridiculous Trump statement where he's like, well, there are good people on both sides. I'm like, bitch, the other side is Nazis. There aren't good people on both sides. You know what I mean? So no, I reject that. And it's sad. It's sad to me that even though I understand it's a documentary and you're trying to say both sides, I wish that the other side, because I'll debate you all day happily if you're just like, look, I hate porn, it's disgusting, I think we should get rid of it, I think it's a plague on American society. Let's talk about it. But don't go gaslighting the public that we're just out there with all this illegal content. There's consent, there's vast paperwork, there's age verification. Everyone is doing everything that
I wish I
you
could
think
show
the rest
people.
of the internet is taking age verification before user uploaded content is provided? Never.
Seriously.
What other platforms besides pornographic platforms have you had to do any kind of vetting before uploading anything you want?
Oh, seriously,
None.
nothing.
Of course. So why are they going after the sites that are doing their fucking
most.
damnedest?
I actually have at my desk at home over the last 12 years of my career, I have binders of consent forms,
Of course you do.
release forms,
because our
age
job is
verification,
legal and we care.
and I have to hang on to all that paperwork.
Yes.
I move from
Yes.
house to house. I've got bins of
Yes,
just
you do.
paperwork.
We all
And
do.
it's backed up on the internet, and it's backed up on my
Yes.
website. It's insane. But people don't see that part. They're just, and that's where we get the misconception of
Well,
oh,
one
here's
of
my
the
phone,
other
I'm a star now.
misconceptions is Pornhub has been bought and sold 1 million times.
Yeah.
And Pornhub started like a lot of other tube sites, which was pure, like a Napster, illegal user uploaded content that was stolen from us and the rest of the internet.
Oh yeah, we forget about the bad days.
And like Napster, the whole music industry hated Napster. The whole porn industry hated Pornhub.
Oh.
If they showed up at a convention, we spit on them.
Oh yeah. Oh
We
yeah.
would spit on them. But then they were bought and they were sold and they were bought and then they were sold.
And then they did it for
Napster turned
us.
into Spotify.
Yep.
But they didn't rebrand their name, right? So they started as a traditional tube site, and there are still lots of horrifying tube sites that you'll never get rid of. They're housed in other countries, right? Which is why I'm always an advocate for device-based verification, because you can't control what other countries are doing, and young people are computer savvy, right?
And it changes every single day.
So you can shut down Pornhub, but you know what's going to take its place? Tube sites that don't do any of the things that they do.
Yeah. Once again, putting us in a dangerous place.
And how do consumers not care about ethical consumption when it comes to pornography, and they do seem to care about ethical consumption when it comes to every other product? If you're using these non-vetted tube sites, you're part of the problem. You're sending eyeballs and traffic, which is money, to places that condone horrifying fucking material.
Yes.
Vet your goddamn pornography like you'd vet
Yes.
your fucking salad. What the fuck?
Yes.
Because the consequences of not vetting your pornography are much higher to society and people that are getting trafficked than not vetting your fucking cheese snack.
Seriously.
You know?
Whack off ethically. Ethically?
Yes, please. You should be jerking off. You should care.
Jerk off ethically.
And if you don't care, then please don't fucking vote to get rid of us. You know what I mean? If you're not even doing your part, and then you're like, yeah, get rid of, double, well, you know how I feel. Is all
We
I
could
can
go on
say.
about this for hours.
Yeah.
For hours. In
Don't
fact,
get me
we
started.
should bring you back and do some more topics. But our time has been up for a
Time
long
has been
time.
up for a minute.
So follow Cherie Deville XO up on
Cherie
TikTok,
Deville XO on TikTok, on
Instagram,
the gram.
on Twitter.
Well, Twitter is just Cherie Deville, because everything else I've lost so many times I had to keep
And there's so many fake
changing,
accounts.
except for Twitter. It's the only original, Cherie Deville.
Make sure you look for that blue check mark.
Please.
Make sure it's her.
I got checks across
Checks
all of
across the
them.
board. Checks across
on
the board.
Insta. If it's not checked, it's probably not me, fellas.
True story.
Yeah.
We'll see you on our next episode. Who knows what we'll be talking about? Maybe our next Madam President here on ASN Underground.
I'm not saying I'm a bad lover, but sometimes I was the only one crossing the finish line.
Sometimes?
But the first time I tried promescent delay spray, wow.
Wow.
Just a few sprays and I could focus more on the intimacy and not be worried about finishing too soon. Now I'm not just running a sprint. We're both signed up for a marathon together.
And he lets me cross the finish line first.
Anything for you, milady?
No accents.
Right, right.
You're watching ASN Underground.